Welcome back to the Art of SBA Lending. Today in the podcast, we have recurring guest Christopher Hackney. He's with Credit Bench, powered by BayFirst. And I sat down with Chris when I went up to Tampa a little while ago, and we caught up. We're both kind of in the same role where we just recently went into management/production from being in a pure production sales role. So we talked a lot about that, just caught up. It's always a good time sitting down with Chris. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. So you did a TV interview, which I saw on LinkedIn. You looked very professional, very handsome.
Thank you, Ray. Means a lot coming from you, man.
And we like to think we're a pretty sophisticated production here, but that was like technically TV. How'd you get that gig? Like, did they just call you and say, we need you on this bit here?
I wish, maybe one day. I was in a leadership program for 6 months through the city of St. Petersburg, and we had a fundraising effort as a part of the project. And they pretty much selected me to go on live TV with a member from the nonprofit that we were supporting.
Okay.
So it was not as nerve-wracking as you would think. They asked some pretty straightforward questions, and it was more of a conversation. You kind of tune out the cameras and the audience there, but it is a full-blown live production. So if you say anything that should be bleeped out, it is not an option to be bleeped out.
That's crazy. Yeah, this isn't live, so don't worry. Well, we can bleep you out.
I was going to say...
Was that the park thing? I saw you on LinkedIn. You did something built a park or something?
Yes. So I do a lot of work outside of work. I always want to be known as... you also do SBA loans, right? I always want people to say, oh, and you do SBA loans. I want that to be the second thing that people know about me for some odd reason to make my main job harder. So yes, we supported what's called Clam Bayou. It's an estuary for minorities and young girls. They needed shade, right? So they go out into the bayou, they collect these organisms, they view these organisms under microscopes, but they're doing out in the Florida sun behind this house that the city owns and the University of South Florida owns, but there's no shade structure. So by providing the shade and we re-turf the area, they're able to spend a lot more time out there, and the hope is that they can increase their exposure. We'll get more kids out to the camp. So we raised $106,000. We had about $35,000 left over to donate to the program for scholarships for the kids.
That's awesome. Well, I want to get into the good stuff. First time you were on the pod, you were top producing BDO Christopher Hackney.
Yeah. Former top producing now.
Well, now you're also, managing.
Right.
You've got...
Attempting to manage.
Dude, we got two dummies sitting here because we were both living the life.
You're in it too, right?
And in the last, it's been 4, 5, 6 months, something like that. We've been doing this now, and it's a whole nother ball game. Right. How's it been going for you?
It's been going well. I always like to ask other people, how is it going for them? Not just my own self-assessment. It's important to hear how others think you're doing, not only your team members, but people that you don't work with, like indirect reports. How do you think I'm doing? How's it going? Or what do you do? Other managers of other divisions, other sales managers at other banks, what do you do? So a lot of feedback from external forces or sources, I would say. So I think it's been going well. It's learning on the fly.
It's hard.
Being a top producer, you're used to being in your own world. There's that competitive spirit, right, where I'm the top guy. But really, if you're the coach, sales manager, I tend to think that you shouldn't be so far ahead of the pack, right? Your pack should be lifted up with you. So if you're a sales manager and the top producer and your guys are still, and gals are still down here as far as their production, are you really doing a great job? So at our shop right now, we have, I'm the fourth lender. We've got 3 that are above $26 million at this point in the year, right? 2 of those lenders, one, he produced $11 million all year. He's at $27 million. Another produced $25 million all last year. He's at $25 million. And one is a new lender to our shop who's our national sales director. So I'm doing about half of that. I'll hit my numbers. I'm not worried about that. But I'm glad that those numbers have lifted from my team.
So you got some big producers there.
Yeah.
That's gonna
don't steal them. We don't say the name of the bank on here, do we? Block that out because I don't want any.
Well, we got to
figure out. I don't want Dustin calling my people or
first.
Anybody.
We got to figure out what the name is.
Credit Bench, powered by BayFirst.
Okay, that's what we're going with. All right, cool. So,
Today.
So, no, I mean, I don't think so. And I mean, honestly, I would love to pick some of your guys off, but I can't do that to
Ray,
you or Tom.
This is an open recruiting mission. I came here to recruit you to announce
We're
officially.
trying to recruit each other.
Right. If you want to join first, or how does this work now?
Oh, no.
How's it for you?
So.
How's it going in your world?
So it's hard because it's like, how do you even measure success? I feel like it's so black and white with when you're BDO. It's like your numbers, your production. But I don't know how much of an impact I'm having with my team members because I'm just trying to figure out, are you happy? Are you accomplishing your goals? And is there anything I can do to help you accomplish your goals? And I start there.
Right.
And what's nice is it was very rough at first because I literally had no idea what I was doing. I thought I read some books, listened to some podcasts. I thought I was preparing myself. But then once you're in it, it's like, yeah, you really don't know what you're doing. But then once you start, time passes and you start seeing some of the impact that you've made, then you're like, oh, wow, okay, that hard work's paying off, but it's in a different way than what I'm used to. So
right.
I am liking it in that sense. And I'm hiring just a third, and then I'm going to stop. So I'll just have 3. I mean, how many do you have?
Well, on our team, we have 10, but direct reports to me, 6.
Okay. And that's like the Florida team, right?
Right, the Florida team.
Okay. And have you actually hired any?
We did, yes. We hired one that did not work out, kind of on both parties.
You said we, but did you find them?
Yes, I found them. It just did not live up to expectations, I think, on both ends. So that was a learning experience as well. I hadn't hired anyone since like the parking lot at Six Flags, right? Much different requirements when you're in high school for a high school job and as an SBA BDO. And learned some things there as you do when you're in this newer role. Didn't work out. So still searching, as you know, right now to get top producing talent, which is what we're looking for.
That's what you want? You don't want to like grow from scratch or anything like that?
No, we really want someone that can come in 15, 20 million minimum for us here. It just the way our model is set up, we do a lot of the smaller loans, right? Working capital, but we want our core guys that do the 350 and up deals to really be able to do, and gals, excuse me, to do 15, 20 million.
Yeah, right.
And those are hard people to like find and bring over to another bank because they're usually comfortable where they're at and they're compensated. And so it's, unless you want to join us, Ray, last time I asked.
Like from that learning experience, what would you then ask a new candidate in the interview process to try to not make that same mistake again?
I would drill down on the specific types of deals that they do and make sure that it's a good fit and where they source those deals. Just drilling down into I wouldn't say minutia, the granular details of each specific deal. Like they can show a pipeline report of total volume, right? But was this a BizAct deal with $4 million unsecured that we would never do? What collateral, how strong were the guarantors, to really make sure that the deals they're bringing over are good fits that you can get done, because a $20 million pipeline at one bank might be a $10 million pipeline at our bank and vice versa, right? So that's what I learned there, is really drill down on volume at an individual deal level when you're looking at hiring someone, as much as they can disclose, right? They can't disclose everything. It's down to guarantor names, but post-closing liquidity, I want to walk through each deal that you did, the 30, 40 deals that you did. I want to know everything about them, not just a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Well, that's smart. I mean, that's kind of what I did here, because they should want to do that too, right? Because why would they want to come here and just blindly come to your shop and think I could get all my deals done?
Right.
Especially if you have been producing, like why? So when I came here, which is like a year and a half ago, I had, my last 20 deals, which is like 2 months worth of deals for me. And I'm just kidding. And
it is top producer alert.
And I went through each one. I said, would you do it? Would you do it? Would you do it? And that was a great exercise. Now I started doing that with when I'm hiring now too.
Right. So that's the thing I picked up from that experience. And I've had a few more interviews and put out some offers, and some have decided to stay where they're at. So it's hard getting top tier talent.
I feel like there's something to be said for like recruiting newer talent, or like someone who doesn't have as much experience, because the more experience they have, I feel like the more bad habits they pick up.
That's true.
It's harder to actually do that, and not a lot of shops are willing to wait for them to build up that pipeline. And then also I could do that. And then you can come pick off my guy, after
right
I've
after
done
their experience, like, oh, aren't you tired of just hanging under Ray's wings? And they're like, hey, come be independent over here. It happens to us as well. And there's also guys like, I was going to try and make it through without mentioning Alan Peterson, but I can't. Is it a podcast without dropping Alan Peterson's name?
Alan, come out.
Come there. But there's guys like Alan Peterson that are business brokers or not SBA lenders historically. On paper, you're saying this is probably not a good fit as an SBA lender, but they get into your organization. I can't imagine our organization without them, from not only production, just morale, some of the initiatives he's put forth as an SBA lender. You wouldn't have saw that on paper, right? So there is value in looking at someone and seeing just beyond what they've done historically as an SBA lender, air quotes, and just thinking outside of the box. Can they grow into the role? But I think for us in our shop, what we're looking for is someone who is seasoned and can come in right out of the gate, because we have other sources and streams of loan production right now. So we want someone that can kind of fill the gap. And also, to me, selfishly, it kind of makes my job a little easier, right? If you got someone that can come in 15, 20 million versus...
It's easier.
Yeah.
But so if you look at your top two guys in Florida,
right,
and you think, well, where did they come from? Like, we hired them, they're doing well. So like one you said was a loan broker before, so that's not really what you're looking for now, even though it turned out to be successful. And then the other was probably Sterling.
Right.
Where did he come from?
I'll tell you the backstory. I was mentioning his story to someone else. So I've known Sterling for a number of years now. He reached out to me. We had lunch, and he kind of said that he was serious about looking elsewhere, and pitched it to Tom, who was the president of our SBA division, now the president of our bank at the time. And it never went anywhere. I sent a few emails and talked to Tom, and for some reason or another, it just never worked out at the time. I think this is 2018 at the time, maybe 2019. Never happened. 2020 comes around, pandemic. At the end of that year, we're looking to hire, and there's a name, Sterling Birdsong, that a recruiter presents, right? And they're liking what they see. And I think they had interviewed him at the time, and then Tom thinks, this name looks real familiar. Then he calls me up. He's like, don't you know this guy, Sterling Birdsong? Isn't that your buddy? I said, yeah, this is the one I tried to tell you to hire 2 years ago. It's one of those things, looking out for guys even before you're in that role, right? And I knew Sterling, just based on what he had done at his prior shop. I knew he was a strong lender. I knew he had a good credit background. I hadn't worked or traded any deals with him, but the conversations I've had with him, I knew he'd be a good fit over here, and I'm glad he is. So he's actually number one right now in production, and is solid, probably one of the best as far as putting together pre-flights and structuring deals that go through committee pretty smoothly. Yeah. Doesn't take a lot he does ask for a lot of things as far as concessions and whatnot, but he deserves it. He's a top producer.
Interesting. Yeah. So he had a few years of experience under his belt.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, a number of years. Very seasoned SBA lender and a credit analyst as well. But their shop, I don't think they were a PLP for a lot of the time he was there, and they required a lot of underwriting and pre-flighting.
They were conservative.
Yeah, very conservative.
I remember where he was at, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's interesting. It's really interesting because I have a word. I'm going to have a word with Sterling tonight on a deal that he and I ran up against each other on that he won.
Oh, nice.
So
am I supposed to clap in the mic? Can I do that?
I don't mind if he picks up some of my
I did
scraps.
a soft clap. Oh, Bird. He was just saying, hey, guys, the Bay Boys group chat. He's like, well, that's another podcast episode. We should start forming a group to send deals to Ray that aren't a good fit here and like formalize a process. So that was 2 days ago.
Well, yeah. Then I will say that, all right, so on Friday, took my mom to the dentist like a good son. And I get a call from the borrower who I got the deal on a Friday. I issued the term sheet on Monday. I have a 100% chance of execution. We actually already worked with the guy. We issued a CL on a deal a few months back that fell apart with the seller. Financial started going south and he pulled out of the deal. And apparently Sterling, so I must have took that deal from Sterling because before that deal, there was a deal with Sterling.
Okay.
So anyway, the guy knows me and knows Sterling. Now he's buying I'll just say it. He's buying a landscaping company. Okay. In my backyard. Like,
ooh, he stole it from your back.
I could walk there. And I was like, already looking at my lawn's going to be looking nice after I close this deal.
There you go.
And so, I'm full boat. I'm not shy.
Yeah. Alan's got the license plate.
Full
boat
Prime
now
plus 3
is
now.
P+3.
Yeah. Well, I issued it before that changed. But anyway, but it's like $1 million deal. And,
you don't want to deal with that, right? $1 million.
Well, no, it was a great deal. I like the guy a lot. And he called me up and he said, hey, I'm going another direction, very upfront. He said who it was. And, he told me the story and I sung his praises. I said, you're in good hands. I did say he's going to have to bust his ass and execute because, I'm here in the wings waiting.
Ooh.
But
I'll pass the message. Well, hopefully this episode is out before it closes so he gets the message.
But I definitely I sang his praises because Sterling's a good guy.
Funny thing, a story about competing, right? I'm having lunch with a borrower buyer that I met, and he actually meets me at our headquarters branch, right? And we walk to lunch. He brings his packet. He's got all the financials. We're having lunch. He's like, just want to be open, man. I am shopping. I got a term sheet out from another lender. It's in the package here. I scroll through, and it's Jack Postregna, who's one of my lenders, and his face is like smiling, and it's Credit Bench powered by Bay First. And I'm like, dude, it's like, this is the same bank. And he's like, what? It's the same. I said, and we walk outside, and I point to the sign. I'm like, same bank. I'm like, but you're in great hands with Jack. Yeah, so just a funny story of like competing with other people, and
it's a small world, and we all compete, and that's okay. There's plenty to go around. If one of your BDOs came to you and said, "Hey, I've got competition on this deal. They have 3 term sheets. They want me to beat it," how would you coach them? Because I don't think that's the right.
Yeah. So now our pricing or our compensation is tied to the pricing on the deal, right? Somewhat correlation.
It wasn't before?
It was not before. It was on gross loan amount. So I don't have as many of those conversations on pricing, right? It's, you want to
built in.
Yeah, it's built in. So I kind of avoid those conversations. But also, I mean, our guys are seasoned. They know how to handle those conversations. If someone's shopping your deal around, who knows when they're ever going to stop shopping your deal around. I do sort of your approach, like, hey, you let me know when you're ready to move forward and execute the term sheet. Not a lot of, harassing people, things like that. And they'll come back around when they're ready. If not, it's not a fit for you. I also have to coach some brokers. I was talking to a gentleman today. He had the SIM, the packages where we do some pre-qualification. He had like 5 different indicative term sheets, not addressed to any buyer, in the package. And I said, hey, just coachable moment here, not telling you what to do, but you've got too many options in your package for lenders. I said, this is going to cause like loan fatigue for your buyer. If they call 5 different lenders and get 5 different options out there, and it's going to slow down your transaction time. I said, I would limit it to 2, obviously one being me, and then maybe Ray Drew, if you know who he is. So that's something too. You might want to coach some of your referral partners on how many options they introduce to the buyer or borrower.
I just had a loan broker reaching out to me, and he said, I need a term sheet on this deal. It was a liquor store acquisition with real estate, $1.5 million purchase. And I think the buyer is an attorney, and I think he's bringing in like a minority partner to run it or something like that, which I didn't even get into any of this, but there was declining revenue trends, and I was like asking for more information. Meanwhile, there's a term sheet already there, and the broker is trying to compete with this other term sheet. So they want through me to compete with the term sheet, right? So the broker's not asking me to compete. He wants my help. But the other term sheet, I was like, it's better by all accounts on paper. It's the same rate. I had prime plus 2. But I had lower loan amount because if I ran it at their loan amount, it didn't cash flow. And I'm just thinking, I mean, either the lender's a genius because he is able to get deals done that don't cash flow.
Right.
And I wouldn't say genius. I mean, that might not be a good idea long term for your portfolio. But I was like, something's up. Then I was like, so I basically said, all right, here's a term sheet. Even though I'm not fully done, I said, when I put out, I have right now over the last 12 months, I have 100% approval rate on my term sheets.
Nice.
So I know it's going to get done because I put in the work up front. But, I said, here's if it helps you, here's the term sheet. I'm like, 75% sure I can do it. And then he comes back a few days later. He's like, here, I got another term sheet. This one's at prime plus 1.5 that they want. He's like, how do I compete with this? And then I looked at that term sheet and it's asking for a star report, and it's a liquor store.
Right. That doesn't make sense.
And I'm like, so basically coachable moment, right? I said, it's execution is probably the thing they should be looking for right now, not, the lowest interest rate necessarily. If you can get a perfect execution shop and it's the lowest rate, great.
Right.
But why would they be the lowest cost provider and the best at execution? It just doesn't make sense.
It's one of the more corny things I include in my spiel to a borrower. Is like, one thing you won't see on our term sheet here is our expertise and our speed, right? It's not something I can type that we're experienced and we're fast, but you can only experience that if you work with us, right?
Yeah, you got to mention that.
Yeah, we mention it, and it feels a little corny, but I don't know if it works
Maybe
or not.
You should put it in the term sheet.
All right, we're fast and we're experienced.
10-year term, no prepayment penalty. We're fast and experienced.
Put in the fine print, right? This is not a commitment letter. We're fast, we're experienced.
There's a audiobook I just finished reading called Leaders Eat Last, Simon Sinek. And that's one of the things that we're having to figure out as BDOs going into more of the manager BDO role, because you kind of have to put your people in front of you. Have you found that to be the case?
Yes, very much so. My production is down drastically.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, before I was working with Hannah Layton, who's my associate lender now, essentially for
She's
like 2 months.
sitting right over here.
Okay, I didn't want to look over there and tell Art of SBA Lending
We'll get to her.
That she was here. But there was like 2 months where I was pretty much just farming out deals to other team members. And we're not talking about $500,000. We're talking $2 million deals, $3 million here. Like, hey, I don't have capacity. Can you run with this? Hey, I don't. And they're like, what? Yeah, I don't have capacity. Can you do this? Can you do this? $14 million USDA deal. Here, can you run with this? That's probably going to like just crazy, because I just could not handle it. And I was more focused on not failing in this new role. I know that I can do $20 million of production, $25 million, come hell or high water. I don't know if that's allowed on the podcast, that term there. But so I was not concerned about my production. I was concerned about succeeding at the role. And I just wanted to make sure my referral partners were responded to as quickly as possible to maintain those relationships. And I just told them, hey, this looks like a good deal. I can't get to this right now. Here's Alan that can help you. Here's Sterling that can help on this US. And they're doing great jobs with the deals, right? And it's not like they're taking a step back by working with these other lenders. These are top producing lenders themselves. So, and to be honest, I'm doing better now as far as being able to manage my day. That was one of the things I asked Tom. I said, Tom, when you were in this role, he was a division president. How did you produce and manage an entire division? And he said, well, first thing in the morning, that was my time, right? So getting in, you get in a little bit earlier. Or
he's an early guy.
Early guy, which I used to be pandemic having. I'm not so much anymore. But still, I like to start my day going through my pipeline. That's my me time to figure out what I'm doing in my world for my production. And then the rest of the day, after about 10:30, 11, that's all credit bench. That's what's Jack got going. What's Mike? What fires do I need to put out?
Yeah. So what is all that? So what is all this new responsibilities? What does that look like? You're getting in the weeds on some of these deals with your guys? Yeah.
So our process now, we have to pre-flight anything over $1 million, right? So we pre-flight. It's a 1 to 2 pager. You put that together, the story, strengths and weaknesses. It takes probably 20 minutes to put it together, right? You're doing your spreads, you're putting an analysis. They send those up to me along with our credit officers. We review it. If there's anything we need, additional information, if it's a deal that we need to pass on, if there's any credit enhancements, maybe a seller note, we have those conversations. So I look at probably at least 3 of those per day at the very least. Really? Sometimes it's up to 5 or 6, right? So helping with structuring deals. And prior to loan committee, right, I have to look at every package prior to loan committee, review it, make sure there are no errors, along with the lender, and say, hey, we talked about this to start. This isn't addressed. Like, for example, one of our lenders had a pool route deal. And I said, you need to put the number of clients that they've had and the number of recurring clients, because they do some installation,
that's the whole
renovation.
Business.
Right. I said, you have it broken out like just revenue percentage in this chart, but I want to see the number of clients so we can kind of back into the math. And sure enough, one of our credit officers asked, well, how many clients do they have? And he spit it off, 800.
Nice.
Right off the bat. And I get such a reward off asking that. And even there are times when they don't listen. And again, I'm going to call Alan Peterson out again. He sent me a deal, dental acquisition. They own 2 other practices. One they were selling, and there was another one they were keeping. I said, hey, we're going to need a corporate guarantee from this so we can get a principal pay. It was a large unsecured deal for us, right? I said, to make us comfortable, let's try to get that practice as a corporate guarantor. I think that's the way to get this deal over the hump. And the cash flow was a little bit tight. said, yeah, Alan's good about doing the head nod. Yeah. And sometimes 95% of the time he's going to do it. For some reason or other, it was missed. So it goes all the way to committee, and I didn't notice that it wasn't included. We're in credit committee. 2 people get on the train. Why don't we have this practice as a corporate guarantor? Why don't we? And then immediately after, Alan's like, sorry, man, I should have had it. You know how Alan is. But, though I wouldn't say that's a rewarding feeling, but also knowing that you have the ability to kind of help some of your guys out, structure deals,
getting
and get
to
their
say
deals.
I told you so to Alan Peterson is a great.
I would never say that to him personally, but I would say it in front of all of YouTube that I told you so.
Well,
Alan Peterson.
I get what you're saying. But I mean, I've been there too, where it's like I gave my 2 cents and they go a different route and then doesn't work out. And, it's tough. But what's the point of the pre-screen going to you and the credit officer if, you don't have credit authority?
For me, it's more, you want to have a production eye on it, right? That used to be Tom's role as a president of the bank production guy. You don't want just credit is credit. There's always going to be credit. As a former credit analyst, I still have that hat partially on. But as a sales guy, you need to have a sales eye on it
But
too,
why
right?
can't this BDO do that, have the sales eye on their own deal?
I think it's more of a management to management, right? Obviously, the BDO, the majority of the compensation is going to them. So I don't think their word is held in the... Right. It's hard as a BDO is to say, oh, yeah, but this is not a good deal, but here's the pre-flight.
But the thing is, like, I think that top BDOs do that. I feel like, I mean, if you try to do every single deal, yeah, I don't think that's a winning strategy. And you might get deals done like that, but you wouldn't have done that, right? Even though you were getting paid. Yeah,
no, definitely. And I just had a conversation with Tom. We did a pre-flight earlier today, and I knew it was going to be a stretch for us. It's a lab testing business. And a lot of it's related to COVID, and we backstressed that out, and there's pretty much no debt service there, right? And we're looking for maybe a much larger seller note than the seller would provide. And it was more of just a pulse check on the deal rather than a pre-flight, just running it past him. I think in our shop, it's more of, they don't want everything to be so like lender sales driven. So they look for the sales manager to kind of opine. Now, I'm not pitching on behalf of them, right? They're still talking about their deal. In this pre-flight, it's an email. If there are questions asked, they provide the answers. Or maybe I have a question, they provide the answers to it that I know that the credit officer would ask. Even better, right?
All right.
So it's not me pitching their deals for them these are grown men, seasoned lenders. I'm not doing that for them. But if there are some ways I can tweak or structure or help, or I know that credit's going to ask this and maybe they didn't think to get that included in their package, let's get it up front.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So, I mean, if you're looking at 3 a day, that's why you're so busy.
Yeah, a lot of time goes to that, and a lot of time goes to closing. Closing fires out as far as appraisals, tax issue. There's a number of things that can happen in closing, and what can we do to get this resolved so we can actually close this dang loan, and also making sure that files are moving through our underwriting pipeline. Here, making sure like, okay, a deal is sat for 4 or 5 days. We've got questions or answers back from the borrower. This needs to be approved. So not only am I managing like our sales team, kind of quasi, and I don't want our credit officers that may watch this to feel like I'm stepping on their toes, but also managing the next stage in the funnel, right? Because that impacts us as sales guys. If our deals sit in underwriting too long, they're not going to say, oh, well, credit bench is great, but the underwriters take a long time. They're going to say, no, credit bench took a long time with my deal, or Chris took a long time with my deal. So it's important we manage that stage of the pipeline, which we have a great team of credit officers, credit managers that do that. But I check in on that pipeline as well. So the lion's share of my day is looking at pre-flights, checking the pipeline, making sure things are moving, putting out fires, and then freaking commission with payroll coming up.
Oh,
gosh, I don't know what that's probably an offhand conversation, how to figure that out.
I don't have to do it. It's weird because when I was going into this, I was like, all right, we're in the same role now. We're doing completely different things.
Really? What's your day?
So my day is like, well, first of all, I only have 2 BDOs.
Right. And
one is brand new. The other is not brand new.
Right.
She was an SBA lender before. The one who's brand new, you're teaching someone from scratch. So the first few months is a lot of steep learning curve and stuff. So we are looking at whatever he's doing, I'm doing, right? Like he's looking at a deal, that means I'm looking at a deal.
Right.
You're a gentleman. You're a scholar. We're going to dinner tonight.
Yes.
Little SBA family dinner.
Yes, I'm excited.
I like
had a light lunch.
Our industry is great because you can just sit around a table of your competitors, even ones you've lost a deal to last week.
Right.
Because Sterling is coming.
That's just a reminder. Yeah. So I guess he has to pay for his own meal, or is this all on the art of SBA lending?
No, we're splitting checks.
All right. That's fair.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
All
Glad you're in Tampa, man. Stay a little bit.
Love Tampa. All right, that's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode of The Art of SBA Lending. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, email me at ray@artofsba.com. Until next time, ta-ta.